Now, Yasmin, what's special about the plenaries and panels today is that they were actually co-designed by those involved in the global movement. And so during the Orange Forum Curtain Raiser, we had more than 120 participants join from across 6 continents who shared their thoughts and questions that they wanted to see at the forum.
That's right. And in fact, they shared with us what energy they want all the panelists to embody on stage at Orange Forum 2025. On the screen, you will see some key ones of the word cloud that we've put together, and this had included keywords like inclusion, hope, innovation, and South-South collaboration. I think we can definitely do those throughout today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so without further ado, I'm honored to introduce the opening plenary. And so a quick note, when the panel starts, you'll see a QR code on the screen once the panel begins. Feel free to scan that and share your questions and thoughts and submit those to the panelists, and they will be answered towards the end. And so moving on to the first panel, it's focused on the growth of the global south, which now represents over 85% of the world's population and 60% of global GDP. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our speakers for the opening plenary from Rising to Leading Global South Leadership. So this will be moderated by Mr. Robert Kraybill, Managing Director and Chief Investment Officer of Impact Investment Exchange, Bapak Leonardo Teguh Sambodo, Deputy Minister for Food Affairs, Natural Resources Environment at Bappenas, Ms. Alice Birnbaum, Head of Development Corporation Indonesia at Global Affairs Canada, Ms. Jennifer Ung, Executive Director of Sustainable Finance, Governance and Taxonomies at Standard Chartered, Bapak Alexander Irwan, Regional Director from Ford Foundation in Indonesia, and Mr. Amit Singh, Partner Head of the India Group and Head of South and Southeast Asia Capital Markets at LinkLaters. Welcome.
Speakers. That's better. I won't repeat that. As we've all experienced, 2025 began as a year marked by intersecting crises, a global retreat from ESG commitments, widening inequality, and intensifying climate shocks. And yet, in the midst of this uncertainty, something remarkable happened. The Global South did not retreat, instead, it led. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, we've seen governments reassert leadership, markets deepen, and countries push to move beyond donor-funded models towards financial independence. This session is about anchoring that leadership, and I hope the conversation we have on stage today will help shape the global action plan for creating financial systems that serve people and the planet. So I'm honored to begin with Deputy Minister Teguh, Deputy Minister for Food, Natural Resources, and the Environment at Bappenas, who has been at the center of this shift in Indonesia. Welcome, Teguh. As we've heard this morning, Indonesia has emerged as a leader in orange capital markets, and Bappenas has played a critical role in introducing this asset class to the market. In addition, Indonesia has made tremendous progress on achieving its SDG goals, a remarkable achievement at times when others have faltered. As the ministry that oversees the SDG Secretariat, Bappenas has played a pivotal role in this. I'd be interested to hear how this progress has been possible, and I'll ask you, Teguh, what were the key policy, coordination, or financing shifts that enabled Indonesia to advance when many others were faltering?
Thank you, Pak Robert. Good morning to all of you. It is a very honor to be invited in this Orange Forum 2025. And responding to your question, why Indonesia can lead such initiative on how we can mainstream our SDGs into our national development plan. First is when we were learning on how we can achieve a Millennium Development Goals before, we have learned that the only way on how the government can also mobilize collaboration between the government and private sectors and other, and also civil society, is by adopting the SDGs into our national development plan. So out of 116 indicators of the SDGs have been mainstream, have been adopted into Indonesia's national medium-term national development plan. So this mark will the second RPJMN or national medium-term development plan that has adopted SDGs indicator with it. The purpose is to close the gap on how the government can finance our effort in achieving SDGs. So this is the only way on how we can finance our effort for SDGs. For that, the government then set up a national team, coordinating team to implement SDGs through the presidential regulation. First, back in 2017, presidential regulation number 59, and that has been updated into presidential regulation 111 for year 2021, and we are now in the process also updating the structures on how we can also include SDGs indicators in our national medium-term development plan with a new presidential regulation that will replace the previous one. This is the way that Bappenas can lead our movement in securing the financing of SDGs effort. The other effort is we are also collaborating with other international partners on how we can mobilize non-government finance, meaning that it is in terms of loan, grants, as well as blended finance. So we have come up with several initiatives to work together with, for example, Bappenas with the Ministry of Finance, as well as with international development partners to set up the national sustainable financing framework. This become the basis on how Indonesia, this has been the basis that we use to lead in the launching of SDGs bond, and then green bond, and then in 2023 is blue bond, and next one, maybe next year, it will be coral bond. So we have tried to mobilize different sources of funding through the issuance of bond. Of course, this bond, all of the bonds are still in the program stage, meaning that it will support the fiscal capacity of the government to finance different activities related to SDGs and as well as economic. And we also developed SDG centers throughout Indonesia. Right now, there are more than 70 SDG centers, mainly based on a local university that will work with us in mainstreaming our SDGs effort. So these are the modalities that we set up. We also work with the local government, subnational level, on how we can promote them to also create SDGs action plan and include the SDGs indicators into their subnational development plan. And we are now working together with the Ministry of Home Affairs on how later on we can monitor the progress and also recognize some of the initiatives from the subnational level to be taken up at the national level to improve our policy. So these are the cycle on how the government think that the best way on how to finance SDGs effort by working together, not only mainstreaming into our development plan, working together with international partners, but also mobilize several actors, whether non-government actors or government at the subnational level, to have the same mission with us to achieve SDGs. So that's the overall explanation.
Great. Thank you, Pak Teguh. And thank you for your remarks, as well as for all of Bappenas's efforts. Now let me turn to Ms. Alice Birnbaum, who's Head of Cooperation for the Embassy of Canada here in Indonesia. The Embassy of Canada and Global Affairs Canada represents one of the region's most important development partners. In fact, Global Affairs Canada has also been one of IIX's most critical supporters in building investment-ready ecosystems in countries in the region, and we're proud of that partnership. Building on Pak Teguh's remarks, Alice, could you share how Canada is supporting regional governments to advance their own priorities and how this approach strengthens national sovereignty and financial independence?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to sit on this panel with all these wonderful speakers. I'm sorry. Canada is very proud to be part of the Orange Movement, as it aligns really well with our development priorities in Indonesia, which are focused on two pillars, which are gender equality and climate resilience. So really a good match, I think, for the Orange Movement. Our objectives are, of course, to reduce inequalities and poverty to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Canada is doing that by working directly with governments, national and local governments, to ensure local ownership and the sustainability of our development programming. For example, in Indonesia, we support the Ministries of Environment, Forestry, Marine Affairs, and Fisheries to integrate marine and coastal ecosystems, or blue carbon, into their national determined contributions and national climate strategies. We also support a mangrove restoration project in Indonesia as another example of country-led, nature-based solution that fosters new models of collaboration between the government and aquaculture stakeholders to restore coastal ecosystems and build long-term climate resilience. We also support market-based solutions that help build ecosystems for entrepreneurship, small business growth, and private sector investment. As we're seeing some donor countries start to reprioritize their public spending, there's a growing and urgent need for donors, development partners, philanthropies, and private sector to work together to address global development challenges if we are to achieve the SDG goals. Through our collaboration with IIX, both in Indonesia and in Vietnam, our support has helped to unlock capital for women social impact businesses and to strengthen the ecosystem for more investment into social impact businesses. And finally, following the recent signature of Canada-Indonesia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the ongoing discussion of a Canada-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, we're hoping to invest in more partnerships to promote inclusive growth through international trade. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alice. Let me turn next to Pa Alex Irwan, who is head of Ford Foundation in Indonesia. Pa Alex, Ford Foundation has played a pivotal role in bringing orange to Indonesia. I remember a little over a year ago, a roundtable here that you led together with Ibu Fifi from Bappenas, and that really has played a remarkable role in kicking off the Orange Movement here in Indonesia. Ford has often been at the front lines of social change across the globe. How do you see foundations, Ford Foundation and others, contributing most meaningfully to this systemic shift in the global financing landscape that's happening now?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. When we talk about this resource mobilization from the South, firstly, I always have to admit that Ford Foundation is from the global North, actually, but we are from the global North, but we've been witnessing the declining resources from the global North to the global South in terms of climate and also gender, and that's why the source of the commitment from the Ford Foundation was actually to help mobilize resources from the global South and relying less and less from resources from the global North. This this happened not just in the field of gender, but also in climate. Last October, during the Asia Exchange convening, which is organized by the Rockefeller Foundation. For Foundation in collaboration with UN China organized a session exactly on the importance of mobilizing resources from the global south. And this is because we've been, I mean, Ford Foundation itself is an example of the declining resources from the philanthropy sector, and to the global south, because we used to be able to provide more resources compared to now. So and during that session in the Asia Exchange, we have Indonesia and China to discuss, mention regarding how Indonesia and China mobilize resources for climate exchange. All the two countries are actually at the different level, because China has been able to mobilize resources to then provide support outside of China, while Indonesia mobilize resources domestically, to support our own domestic agenda, Pak Teguh. But those are very useful conversation in terms of resource mobilization for climate issues, and now we are talking about resource mobilization for gender related issue, which is the Orange movement. The reason why Ford Foundation provided support and working with IIX is because the Indonesian government is aiming to generate 8% economic growth, and we would like to see that Indonesian women have the resources to both to contribute to the economic growth, and also to become benefits of the economic growth. In order to be able to do that, then we need to mobilize resources for women, and that's an imperative for Foundation, because we are a true believer of gender equity. And I'm not a finance person, so sometimes I feel intimidated to be among the financial expert, and I always rely on Doreen and her team to coach me and to fill me out regarding all of these financial terms that I'm not familiar with. But when it comes to finances, when it comes to policies, I would give it to IIX, Bapenas, but when it comes to support from the philanthropy sector, then please come to us. We can have a discussion, and I can probably convince some other philanthropy organizations to contribute to this orange movement effort by mobilizing resources from the global south. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And that's actually a good segue then to turn to our financial sector experts. We have two private sector experts on the panel today from Standard Chartered Bank and LinkLaters, both of whom have been crucial partners for IX's Women's Livelihood Bond series. So I'm thrilled to have you here. I'll start with Amit. Mr. Amit Singh is head, among other things, head of South and Southeast Asia capital markets for LinkLaters. So Amit, LinkLaters is one of the 5 major circle law firms, magic circle law firms, and has been behind some of the most innovative transactions across Southeast Asia. As legal frameworks, regulations, and governance are the foundations that allow capital markets to scale, what do you see as essential building blocks of the Global South to define its own financial architecture?
Thanks very much, Robert. And when I saw the photograph on a lighter note as we were about to start, I realized that it's high time I changed it, because I think the ravages to my hairline are quite similar to the ravages of the global north to the funding that I think the orange-green movement has seen in recent times. That being said, look, I think there have been some pretty fundamental changes over the last several years. First and foremost, and what I've seen is the liquidity in the Asian capital markets, and I'm a capital markets partner, lawyer, so I'll talk about it, is now tremendous in Asia. And that reflects the confidence of Asia. You don't necessarily need to go out and source funding necessarily in the West. So that's one very positive development. You can do issuances which are, frankly, even up to $1 billion and sometimes beyond, sourcing funding sources in Asia. So that's point number one. Two is, I think, there is a lot more players in the markets here. So you've got a whole bunch of governments which are playing a part, and Teguh talked about it. You've got some enlightened global north funded players funding global south programs. But you've also got movements like the IIX, which are emphasizing issues pertinent to the global south. And that's the other bit. We'll only make the transition once we are not defined by the taxonomies of the global north. And what is happening is that you've got, across the regions here, a growing effort to form taxonomies, and there's more to be done, so that there is a regional harmonization across it on issues which are pertinent, whether it be, the cyclone-prone region of the Philippines or the drought-prone region of Vietnam, but issues which reflect the reality of Asia. What we don't quite understand sometimes in the North is actually, while people often pay lip service to the North being much more developed, actually women are much ahead in many of the countries in the global South in powering the economy. I think in Indonesia, about 60% of the economy is powered by women, and yet 70% of the climate burden is shouldered by women. And I think the important shift that needs to be done is really the cooperation across the global South. I think China has dedicated, about 110 million just recently, as the global North has retreated to climate resilient, gender focused funds in the global South. So I guess, in short, what we need to see is regional regulatory harmonization. You, of course, need public-private partnership that Teguh talked about. You need, frankly, the qualitative and the quantitative metrics defined by the global South, which are pertinent to the problems of the global South. And you need, frankly, a real will on the part of organizations like IIX, which we've been proud to support over the last several years, to make it happen. So that's what I think is the way forward.
Thank you, Amit. And unfortunately, you've made me realize my hair color has changed a few shades since that picture was taken. So anyway, let's move on then to Ms. Jennifer Ong. Jennifer is Global Head of Sustainable Finance, Governance, and Taxonomies at Standard Chartered Bank. Jennifer, we've heard how governments and partners are building financial systems that reflect the priorities of the region. From the perspective of a banker, what trends are you seeing in the demand for sustainable and inclusive finance in Asian markets, and what role can banks like Standard Chartered play in driving those trends forward?
Thank you, Robert, and it's such an honor to be here at Orange Forum to see the energy, the sort of excitement that's surrounding the Orange Forum. I really feel like Asia is, sustainable finance is at an inflection point right here. There is so much palpable excitement around the opportunity, around the language surrounding sustainable finance. There is really a difference when we talk to clients from the global north, where there is a certain element of caution. There is, what do we do about it? How can we do it? to how do we circumvent some of the geopolitical sensitivities that surround the global north. But in the global south, it does seem like there is just genuine opportunity to be captured. And that's where I think people like Standard Chartered play a really, really big role in being important partners of the ecosystem. There are various pillars such as adaptation and resilience finance, transition finance, which are critical to this part of the world. But social is an element that cuts across all that. There is no transition finance, adaptation finance, without consideration of the gender lens investing. So, for example, recognizing that gender diverse corporate governance, they often lead to stronger governance as well as reduced non-financial risk. Like we've heard earlier today, it is just a smart thing to do. With diversity of thought, with diversity of opinions, you get to a better outcome. They constantly have better repayment, a discipline, as well as lower non-performing loans. We see social financing as well as unlocking human capital. There is so much more opportunity in Asia to be tapped. We see that the average female labor force participation is about 55% compared to 80 or 90% to the male labor force participation. There's so much more women can do. They just need better access to resources, they need opportunities, they need people to take a chance on them. And it's not just a charity play, it is about giving them the opportunity to transform into an economic resource. So we see ourselves as important players in this ecosystem. We want to originate high quality social assets across the retail, SME, as well as corporate portfolio. We need that to be supported by strong data, transparent reporting, and clear social indicators and outcome. We want to support companies in their social ambitions. We want to structure social sustainability linked instruments with you. We want to make sure that we are financing you in what matters for your company. We want to mobilize capital markets through social sustainability, orange bonds. And we want to structure products that already attract the ESG investors who want to put money into gender-led investing, but are looking for the opportunities to do so. We are partners in the ecosystem with development organizations, philanthropic capitals, regulators, governments, and we look to share the risk and reward by de-risking these projects. I feel like the global south, Indonesia, a perfect example. There is so much want, evidenced by the players in the room. There's so much will, evidenced by the regulators, the governments, making sure that social finance is in their national priority. And there's so much resources, like Amit just pointed out. There's so much liquidity in this market that we can put to good use. We're looking to not fund just social impact. We are also looking to deepen customer loyalty, build more resilient portfolios, and unlock the underfunded and underserved of the footprint markets that we operate in. So I'm really, really excited to be part of this journey.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now, I'm told we only have about 4 minutes left. We're going to try to do a real quick fire round. We'll just work the way back. So Jennifer, if you can give a quick answer. What is one market signal that tells you the Global South is leading, not following, in this latest trends?
Thank you for an easy question. The fact that we have the largest orange bond issued in Indonesia. We have the first orange sukuk. And the fact that the IAX Women's Livelihood Bond Series has already mobilized 288 million with 0 defaults. The market listens when action's being taken. So this is really wonderful to see.
Thank you. Thank you. Amit, your turn. What's one misconception that global investors still have about emerging markets that you wish they would jettison?
Yeah, I guess the misconception is still that emerging markets are somehow poorly regulated, that innovation seems to really emanate first from the global north and then the global south is a follower. I think what we've seen more recently as the global north has retreated, whether it be in renewable energy, whether the role of governments like India and China have taken in really investing in that, in the way the private players have invested in it, at the same time as the West is retreating and sometimes even denying the reality of the change. is manifest to the fact that I think leadership is very clearly moving to the global south. Of course, I think the problem is at the moment there is a lack of harmonization. And so what the global south needs to do more is join up together in order to formulate policies which are a coherent counter-answer to the hegemony that the global north has had for the so many decades that have preceded us. Yeah.
Thank you, Amit. Pa Alex, what is one thing philanthropists must do differently to enable system-wide transformation?
I think what philanthropists need to do differently is to think in terms more of collaboration and the regional approach. Like I said before that Ford is a foundation from the global north, but we are committed in providing support, for the resource mobilization from the global south, and we need to go thinking beyond the national level, like looking at the region. Say Ford Foundation has an office in India, China, and in Indonesia, in Asia, and between the three of us, we've been coordinating in trying to figure out, what kind of regional support that we can provide, for example, to this Orange movement.
Thank you, Pa Alex. And Alice, I'll ask you very quickly, what's one outdated idea in development cooperation that we should all leave behind?
I think the outdated idea is that the global north should lead in situations where the global south is to benefit. I think our job is to walk alongside the global south and follow your leadership. And I think this forum is a great example of doing that. My job in international assistance is to help reduce poverty, and I'm hopeful that the way things are going, I will soon be out of a job myself. So, thank you.
Fantastic, thanks. And I think appropriately, we'll let Pa Teguh have the last word. But what's one misconception about governments in the global south that needs to change to accelerate sustainable finance?
Thank you. Learning from our journey, first, the government at the global south need to show that there is a policy alignment, policy integration that will secure the private investment confidence on how they can collaborate with the government. And the second one, to reduce the gap in the business model. Because sometimes in the global south, there is too many risk perception about different projects. So the government and the private sector and other actors can work in reducing this business model gap. And by doing so, I think we can then become more creative on how we can attract collaboration in securing financing for, whether it's for SDGs, whether it's project based on gender in several parts of Indonesia. And this is the way on how we can show that Global South actually can lead, because we have dealt with several challenges in terms of on how a private sector can also work with us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pa Teguh. And if you could all join me in thanking all of my tremendous panelists, we're off to a great start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists. I know everyone still wants to hear from them, but we do want to keep to a time. All our panelists will be around in case you'd like to speak to them one-on-one. And we invite you back to your seats, where you'll also be taken to your speaker's lounge for a token of appreciation and the photos.